Are we rolling? Okay, you in the right spot? Where's the mic? So again, good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Revitalization, and I am the Executive Director of the Jersey City Housing. Now can you hear me better? Yeah. I'm the Executive Director of the Jersey City Housing Authority. Tonight is our 8th meeting. Every time when we have these meetings, for those of you who have been to a few of them, we recap sort of where we've been before and where we are now. I see a lot of familiar faces from previously. We started doing community visioning meetings in January. We held community visioning meetings from January until June on the 3rd Tuesday of every month here in this room. And then in July, we had a meeting where we talked about the Uniform Relocation Act. That's the federal law that sets the guidelines around relocation. Throughout this process, one of the key questions that residents have had is around how are we actually going to implement the right to return. So we made the commitment to do one-to-one replacement of public housing units. This is not a building that's going to turn Section 8. Our goal in the redevelopment process is that all of the units, the 192 units that are here, will return as traditional public housing units. So that's one thing to remember, which is different than some of the other redevelopment the Housing Authority and other agencies have done in the past. And I'm not going to recap the vision, but what I always...
The other side.
The other side? No. One moment, we're having just a mild technical... What's that? Thank you. No. What am I doing wrong? I can do it on the screen. You just do that. This is something different. Don't worry, if I have to do it manually, it's fine. You do it without the clicker. So as I was saying, all of the things, all of the meetings that we held from January until June, all of the videotape and every single one of the documents is on the Holland Gardens Vision website. So I encourage you, if you want to revisit those, or if some of you missed those meetings, you can look at the website, you can watch the videos. I know some people watched along, and we are live streaming again tonight, so we may have other people who are paying attention today who aren't in the room, and that's a very good thing. So, as we say in all of our meetings, to ensure accuracy and transparency, all questions asked during this meeting will be posted on the Revitalization website. Up until now, we've waited to post the frequently asked questions because we hadn't yet promulgated a right to return policy. Now that we have a right to return policy that was promulgated by the board at our October meeting, we will begin to post all of the FAQs. So, what is this website? This is the website, Holland Gardens Vision. Everything about what we've been talking about from January to present day lives on this website. And I really encourage all of you to take a look. But tonight, we are going to just do an overview of where we are in the revitalization process, estimated timeline, a brief overview of the Uniform Relocation Act. What I thought was wonderful at the last session that we did in July, we had New Jersey Legal Services here. From our perspective as an agency, we really want organizations that provide legal services to be in the room with us, because I think for many of you, what I say, you want to be able to check it, right? You want to be able to go to your attorneys. You want to be able to verify that what we're saying is accurate. And we think the more stakeholders we have in the room who provide legal services, who provide advice to tenants, the better. Because if we're all operating with the same amount of information, whether it's Jersey City Together, or Waterfront Project, or some of the city council members, we are in a better place, because if you hear it from me and you have a question, you can certainly go and talk to your advisors and to legal counsel, and we're all operating with the same set of information, which is why I felt so strongly about making sure that all of the documents and all of the videos of the meetings that we held are public content. So we're going to spend most of the time tonight talking about the Jersey City Housing Authority right to return policy. Yes, that housing choice voucher program. Last time we were here in July, many residents had a lot of questions about what would happen if they made the choice about using a Section 8 voucher during relocation. And then, of course, we always talk about ways to participate and stay up to date. So I will say, for those of our members in this room who would need or prefer to hear this information in Spanish, Luz Santana, who by day is our Director of Compliance, is here to provide simultaneous Spanish translation. Again, if there are particular needs, for example, in terms of translation or people who need assistance in understanding material, please let us know. If you don't find us tonight, please contact us and we will make sure that you're able to receive the information the best way for you to understand and be able to ask questions about it. So with that, I'm going to dig right in. And I should say we have other members of our senior team here. In addition to site staff, we have individuals from development, asset management, IT, Section 8, and I may ask from time to time for them to assist me in some of the answers. So where are we? Key decisions and findings. The existing conditions at Holland Gardens, and these are what we have presented at prior meetings. The existing conditions at Holland Gardens present significant challenges for both the residents and for the Jersey City Housing Authority. An estimated $21 million would be needed over the next 20 years to maintain the current properties, leaving the building as is. We have posted the physical needs assessment for this property on the Holland Gardens vision site. And to be totally transparent, we do this about every 5 years, and we're just about to have a new round of physical needs assessment done. When those are done, we will again post them. The option, so maintaining the current property as is not financially feasible, nor does it address resident concerns concerning air quality, for example, unit size and quality, parking, community space, and some of the ADA compliance and access issues for elderly and disabled residents. As I've shared before, this site in particular has a significant number of seniors and of residents with disabilities. The determination was made that the best option to address resident needs, ensure one-to-one replacement of public housing ACC units, and meet current HUD guidelines and financial restrictions is to redevelop the existing site for higher density, mixed use, and mixed incomes. And then finally, as we said before, the Jersey City Housing Authority from the outset has committed to a one-to-one replacement of all public housing ACC units at the redeveloped site. Relocation is not expected to begin until the fall of 2021 at the earliest. We decided to give you a date like this. Now, it's possible that we do not start redeveloping until spring of 2022, right? That will depend on a lot of things in terms of who we choose as a developer, maybe there, in terms of relocation, but you do not have to worry that relocation is going to happen any sooner than fall of 2021. I'm not going to come back and tell you, you know what, we changed our mind, we're going to do it next spring. That is not going to happen. The earliest date possible is fall of 2021, and we have been saying that and have been advertising that for several months. Prior to the start of the redevelopment process, the Jersey City Housing Authority must go through a series of steps that involve review and/or approval by our Board of Commissioners, by the Federal Housing and Urban Development, and the city of Jersey City. Why do I remind us of that? When we first started this, I had several people in the room who said we had already sold the property and were in a agreement with the developer. It simply does not work like that. We cannot do that. We have several layers of review when we do a process like this. So I just say that, and that's something you can check with your advisors. There's an entire process that has to happen, lots of forms, lots of meetings and approvals, and that is why it takes some time from the point of when a housing authority decides to redevelop to the date it actually redevelops. During that 2-year period, and maybe it's 2.5-year period, there's going to be a lot of work that you are not going to see on your end, but that has to be done on our end. So we shared this infographic, and I believe we have written copies, and we try to distribute this widely, but this is sort of the general timeline of where we are. This fall, and I know that we are soon coming up November, but this fall, we are going to submit, we are going to issue a request for qualifications. That means we are going to seek proposals from entities or collaborations that actually have the capacity to do this work. In the winter or spring of 2020, and I at this stage can tell you it's most likely spring of 2020, we are then going to issue a request for proposals. It will be out of the entities that were selected in the RFQ. Then we will do the review and final decision between summer and fall. We will be in pre-development. Remember I just told you you got a lot of work to do. You won't see it, but we have to do that. That's included in pre-development. When we do the research, architectural and construction plans, loans, financing, all of those types of things. And again, as we said before, relocation not before fall of 2021 or maybe even winter of 2022. And we will always update you if we believe those dates have changed. So I'm going to do a brief overview tonight of the Uniform Relocation Act. This is a federal law, and it doesn't just apply to public housing authorities, but to any housing that is created with federal dollars. So as we covered in July, and we can revisit it at the end of this, we can talk about what things you want to hear again, but it is in the July meeting, and we have all the documents, and we even provided the legal sources for those documents. We have to provide you with individualized advisory services, relocation counseling, and an explanation of payment and assistance. We have to provide comparable replacement housing options that are decent, safe, and sanitary, and functionally equivalent to your present dwelling. So what does that mean? If you choose to go into the private market during, what does that mean? Get a Section 8 or move out with some financial assistance from us with a private landlord, we must inspect that property. We have to be assured as a housing authority that it meets standards. I gave the example last time. If you are in a one-bedroom here, we can't put you in a hotel room. It has to be functionally equivalent to what you have here. 90 days written notice prior to date of move out. So in the fall of 2021, that would be the earliest date that you can get the 90-day written notice prior to the date of move out. We provide reimbursement for moving costs and certain related moving expenses. You have freedom of choice in selecting your replacement dwelling. We can't demand that you go to a particular site or a particular dwelling. You have freedom of choice. And then you have a right to appeal payment amounts. We're going to talk a lot tonight about different areas where you have right to question and appeal. You have the right to question and appeal under the Uniform Relocation Act. What we said last time is the most important thing is that you ensure that you maintain your eligibility for relocation assistance. Do not leave your unit prior to receiving a written letter of relocation eligibility. That's very important. You might say, oh, I found a great place to live and move out and not tell us. You do not have rights under the URA if you do that. It is very important that you do not move out of your unit until we've gone through the whole relocation process with you. You've got to meet with your relocation coordinator prior to moving to ensure all paperwork is in order. You've got to ask all of those questions. And the other thing you need to know, residents here know what the APOC is. It is the admissions and continued occupancy policy. We are mandated by HUD to have it, we call it the shorthand, the APOC, but those are all of the rules that cover your tenancy. And right now, some of you have been involved in the annual plan. So every year, we tweak, or there might be new policies, and we adjust the APOC. It goes to resident review. There are representatives of this housing development on that review process, and residents give comments. So that is basically all of the legal guidelines around what it means to live here. The thing that people don't always realize about public housing residents is that you have enhanced rights over people in general population, who are living in the private sector, just renting an apartment. And those rights are set forth in the admissions and continued occupancy policy, where you can find it. You can find it in the site manager's office. You can find it online. So if you haven't seen it, and I know that everybody should know about this, is the admission continued occupancy policy. And that, and your lease requirements, all of you have a copy of your lease. You have to ensure that you remain in good standing. So, I mentioned to you, you're going to get some notices. We're going to go back. So we've got several notices that are going to come out. The first one you're going to get is this fall, and it's going to tell you what you already know, that this site has been identified for redevelopment. That's the general site. Then you're going to get a notice of eligibility for relocation, and what does that do? That means we can start talking to each of you individually about your relocation plan. So tonight, and I mean this with all respect, we're not going to be able to talk about individual fact patterns. So that's a private discussion that you should be having with your relocation coordinator and with any advisors and your families, right? Tonight is really giving you the general information about how this operates. But when we send out that notice of eligibility for relocation next summer, that'll trigger the time that you can start talking to a relocation counselor about what this means for each of your families. Then we will issue a series of notices in 2021. First, a 120-day notice, then a 90-day notice, and we are also going to do a 30-day notice. We want everybody to understand the time frames that we're working on. And these are the things that I just talked about. These are the explanations. And again, this will be up on the website. So now, to the main portion of today's meeting. The Jersey City Housing Authority right to return policy for Holland Gardens residents. So, in October, at our October 4th board meeting, our Board of Commissioners approved the resolution to promulgate a right of return policy that strengthens and supplements existing rights under federal and state law, and to incorporate this policy into the relocation plan that the Jersey City Housing Authority will submit to HUD for approval upon selection of a developer. I think one of the really good things about this process is that we are starting the conversation very early. But what you need to understand is that there is currently no relocation plan. We do not even have a developer or a pool of developers yet. When we came to you in January, and I said we're at the very beginning, I was telling you the truth. We're at the very beginning. So we knew we had to start thinking about what would relocation and right to return look like. So before we select a developer, before we submit to HUD, we wanted to come up with a set of guidelines and obligations and your rights to return. And that's what I'm going to start talking about now. So how did we come up with this? Well, we looked at a few things. First, we looked at something called the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. Now, we are not a RAD conversion. Some of you may have heard about what the RAD conversion. Why are we not a RAD conversion? We're not moving to Section 8. You're still going to be public housing residents. But the thing about RAD is that it had some very good language around right to return that we felt could be good guidance for us. So we took a look at that. We also looked at concerns raised by different advocacy groups, in particular the National Low Income Housing Coalition, and then we also looked at the Housing Law Project and others in thinking about guidance as we put together our own right to return policy. And then we looked at what other public housing authorities using different types of relocation, what they've done well, what they haven't done, what have people been concerned about. And most importantly, we have sought to address concerns raised by you at the various meetings that we've had. And we have held 7 public meetings to date. In addition to meetings that we have had with residents and advocates separately and with elected officials. So, the first, what are our obligations of this institution for right to return? We are first affirming our commitment to communicate with you with transparency during revitalization. We are affirming our requirement and obligation to adhere to federal, state, and local requirements during the relocation process. And most importantly, we are establishing tenancy rights, protections, and guidelines for relocated residents that will enable them to return to the redeveloped property. So, some of the key elements, and I know, where do we have the resolution? Is it on the table back there? They've all been handed out. So you have a copy of what was actually adopted by the board. That resolution lives on both of our websites, the Holland Gardens website and then also our general website. But I wanted to talk about some of the key rights in it. So, first of all, you maintain all of your rights under the ACOP, the Uniform Relocation Act, and the New Jersey Anti-Eviction Act until return to the redeveloped policy. What we're trying to do is establish that we're not sort of, you leave and then you come back. No, we have an ongoing relationship with you during the period of relocation, and we acknowledge and affirm that all of those laws apply. We also affirm in that document the relocation assistance that we're required to provide under the Uniform Relocation Act. And that includes temporary housing, moving costs and assistance moving, security deposit loans if the household chooses to move to a privately owned unit. So why do we say loans? So if you move to a Section 8, if you decide you'd like to take a voucher, that security deposit that's required for the Section 8, the housing authority will loan you that money. You're not required to come up with your security deposit when you move to Section 8. When you get relocated, that money will come back to the Jersey City Housing Authority. And the right to appeal. Remember, I raised this earlier, you have a right to question, to appeal, anything related to the relocation. Now, what is the eligibility to return to the redeveloped property? A lease in the redeveloped property may not be denied absent good cause. The default is you're going to get a lease. That's where we're starting from. Now, what would be the reasons for you not to get a lease? If you violate any of the admissions continued occupancy policy, which applies to public housing, or the administrative plan, which is the same thing for Section 8. You have both the rules around, and that results in a lease termination or a loss of subsidy. We could talk a little more about that, but I want to give you some context. We have begun to look at our eviction data. I'm very proud to say that the Jersey City Housing Authority has a less than 1% eviction rate. And we have actually will provide the numbers for Holland Gardens. This year we have not had any evictions at Holland Gardens. So I want you to understand that in terms of context, because you might be saying, well, I might get, how easy or difficult is it to get evicted? We work very hard with tenants to make sure that you stay housed. We'll look at some of the reasons why people sometimes get evicted, but I'm very proud of this organization We've been looking from 2015 to the present, I haven't gone back further, but in each of those years, less than 1% eviction rate. I say that because I want you to understand that that's the context in which we're defining your ability to come back, right? Sometimes people say, well, I got a notice to cease. I will tell you this, a notice to cease is a tool to address an issue so that people don't get evicted, right? Notices to cease, if you haven't recertified, if there's some other issue, it gives us an alert and you an alert that we gotta work on something. And the goal is to keep you housed. And that is not going to change when we are in relocation. So so a good cause is defined in any violation of the rules, whether you're in Section 8 or public housing that results in lease termination or loss of subsidy. We're not going to go too much into it now, but you have rights as a public housing resident when if the authority seeks to evict you, right? You know, we have a whole, legal department that works on this, and we always advise about representation when people are being considered for eviction. The other thing that won't make you ineligible is if you need a reasonable accommodation. That makes sense, right? We are a public agency. If you need a reasonable accommodation, that's not going to be a basis for you to be denied a lease. But most importantly, you have notice and informal hearing rights. You have the same rights as any public housing resident, and that is under the ACOP. So that is, I think, one of the most important elements of the right to return. That's really the piece of it that will become part of our relocation plan. So the other thing people have questioned is they know that when the housing authority has previously done redevelopment, people have been rescreened. We are not rescreened. So we, the Jersey City Housing Authority and our development partner, are not going to rescreen residents for income eligibility, income targeting, or credit history to determine eligibility to return to the completed project. You can come back, you're not coming back as new people applying for a new house, you're coming back as returning residents. We are not doing additional background checks. No criminal background requirement, credit screening, or drug screening requirements more stringent than the Jersey City Housing Authority policy to determine eligibility. So why is that in there? There is a policy in our admissions continued occupancy that gives us, under certain circumstances, the right to do a criminal background check. We have a one-strike policy here. We have certain rules, some of them federally required, around criminal behavior. But criminal history is not going to be a reason for someone not to come back. That is that's a separate issue around criminal involvement. Outstanding balances, that's another issue that I know residents have been concerned about. So what do we mean by outstanding balances? We're not talking about non-payment of rent. We are talking about things like late fees, right? Or air conditioners, right? All of the other types of fees, the housing authority in its right of return has committed that those types of balances are not going to be a reason to deny you a lease. What we are going to ask is that you enter into a repayment agreement with the Jersey City Housing Authority. Now, I can already hear the question, well, I don't agree with the amount of what they say I owe. I suggest that at any time, you need to go to the site office and we need to get to the bottom of it, right? If you think that some of these charges are not fair, then you don't have to wait. We can have that conversation right now, right? And figure out what's owed and get that done. But we're not going to use that as a reason to say you are not eligible for a lease. You're going to get the lease. We're going to ask you to enter into a repayment agreement. So I suggest if people have questions, concerns, issues about those types of outstanding balances, you don't have to wait. Let's get to it now, right? Next thing, security deposits. We will transfer your security deposits to the new unit upon your return. We are not going to ask you for more security. Your security deposit is what it is. It will go seamlessly to the new unit. Transfer of relocation preference. A head of household with relocation rights will have the right to transfer her or his relocation preference to another household created as a result of an authorized unit split. Now, this is like complete public housing language, right? What that means is if the mother is the head of the household and decides that she does not want to come back, she may give that preference, that right to come back, to an approved split, to another member of that household. So it doesn't become 2 apartments. It's a right to 1 apartment, but you can switch it to somebody else, right? And those are the types of details we can talk about. I mean, we're gonna have lots of conversations, but that is in line with what we've done in other redevelopments. Rent calculations. Your rent when you come back will remain either 30% of your income, just like it is now, either 30% of your income or the minimum rent, right? In accordance with the admissions and occupancy policy. The established flat rent, if some of you are paying the flat rent, it'll be the established flat rent. Or if the family income exceeds the over income limit for 2 consecutive years under HOTMA. So last year, when we were doing some of our annual plan revisions, the federal government has required that if a family is earning more than 120% of area median income for 2 consecutive years, they need to start paying the fair market value, or what's the other combination of subsidy? I forget, there's a term for that. That is a newer requirement of HUD, but we put that in there so that you understand it is the same as if it's the same rules as you have now as a public housing resident. Everybody's a little different because we have different income, and we make different choices, but nothing will change. It's the same way it is now. So, lastly, resident engagement and agency transparency. We're going to continue to do what we've been doing, right? And we're affirming that. We are going to provide you with a clear date of eligibility for right to return, which is when we select a development partner. That's when that notice will be issued. And it will apply to anyone legally residing at the property at any point on or after that date. So there's a point where we say, here we go, right? And you will have a formal notice of that. Relocated residents will be informed of the relocation process and counseled on their options individually. We do not do group counseling, it's individual counseling. And we will meet with you as often as you need to, right? The URA requires 1 meeting. I've said it before, we will meet with you until you understand, and it's not going to be like a one and done. We will continue if you've got ongoing questions. We will maintain a forum for relocated residents to raise concerns. So it's meetings like this, we have the comment card, we have different meetings that we do, but we will continue to do these quarterly meetings, and we will work on the agenda and things you want to dive deeper into. Like, I didn't quite understand this policy. Can you talk a little bit more about that? We've got at least 2 years, so we should be able to cover all of those questions, right? We're going to keep you informed about the progress of redevelopment. And all public meetings are live streamed and become part of our ongoing public record of community engagement. So this is, I promised you, I said, as an agency, we have a less than 1% eviction rate. This is the eviction data for Holland Gardens from 2015 to 2019. So this year, we have not had any evictions. Some of you might say, well, I don't know. We did have one ejectment action, meaning someone who was not a leaseholder who was here and not legally here. In 2018, we had 1. In 2017, we had 4. That must be 20. I think we just have to fix the dates on those. 2016 is 3, and 2015 and 1. We're correct that that's just a typo. But I say that we are, this property, I raise it because at our last board meeting, someone suggested that actions against tenants had increased. And so I went back to the team and I said, I really want to dig into this and see if that's valid or not. It is, this is our data. Now, what are the overall causes of eviction? We at this property didn't have any eviction for lease violations. They are primarily one strike that involves criminal activity or non-payment of rent. And I just thought it would be helpful for you to see that data and understand sort of what that means when we say, how do we avoid eviction? How do we maintain good standing? This is where we are in terms of data. I'm going to open it up for questions. Well, you know what? Should we do questions on right to return now? And then we can go, I think we should do some questions now on right to return. And then after that, at our last meeting, there were some questions about Section 8. I'm going to invite Patricia Ramirez, who is director of our housing voucher program, and Geraldine Jones, assistant director, to come and talk about Section 8. But I think at this stage, I think it's a good point to now talk about sort of right of return and questions that you might have about what we just presented. There's got to be a question. Yes, sir.
If everybody in here is in good standing of existence, what is the possibility of everybody that's in here right now?
100%. Yep, 100%. We will have the exact number of housing units to house everybody. Yes. Now, realistically, whatever you do with redevelopment for a variety of reasons, someone might say, we already had questions, and people say, I'm curious about taking a Section 8 voucher and moving to another state, right? So, but that would be the choice of the resident, or because they were not in good standing. But we are returning 192 units. Yes, Keisha.
We have that individually invited for each family.
It is in our policy.
Also about to have.
What do you want to write? You right to come back? Yes, we can include the right of return policy to every single resident. Yeah, you can get the right to return policy to be provided to go as an attachment during your relocation. I don't see any reason, right? But the same rules apply, right? That's why I'm telling you is the right to return policies, the same guidelines around, ACOM and admin. But we can attach it as an addendum to everybody's notices. Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear this all about that. I can't hear you.
She never know about the ACOM.
You didn't know what they have? Okay.
I'll get it done.
Yeah, it's online and it's also in Elizabeth's office. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Everyone that's over 18 in the household eligible for the household choose program.
You are, so are you talking about an authorized split? Or are you talking about being a member of the household? So the household is the household. If you're a member of the household, you are part of that household.
So we get our own separate vouchers.
No, you're not getting your own separate voucher. There are certain conditions when we do an authorized split, right? And that might be if we need an apartment of a certain size and there's a separate family. But we are talking about a house, each household is a household. I don't know if anyone wants to talk about authorized splits. Right, sometimes we do that because when you're relocated, let's say you're a larger family. I say this only as an example because this was handled at the individual level. Let's say you're in a 4-bedroom here. We may decide with you that it makes sense to do a split during relocation, but when you come back, there's only one household, right? You can transfer it to somebody, but that's really more about sort of how do we manage relocation because some apartment sizes might be more challenging than others, and there may be, a son or a daughter with a child, and it makes sense to do that split, right? But there's not a uniform policy about that. Yes, I saw a question back here.
I was wondering, you said that if you have a Section 8 that's related. So for example, if you find a section 8 apartment, you find an apartment and you link up and the rent of the apartment goes up, and then it's beyond the payment standard, and then that amount is brought to you. If you then get a non-payment,
That does not happen. We manage, no, I'm not telling, I don't know, I will tell you, I'll let Patricia deal with that. Those Section 8 vouchers will be coming from us. And I'll let Patricia talk about it. That would be an issue at the time of releasing, but you're tied to a lease at a certain amount. If that means that the landlord is illegally trying to raise your rent, that is an issue for us because we are providing subsidy to the landlord, right? So I'm a little bit, Patricia, do you want to take that question?
you're right, there are cases where the rent will continue to go up. However, that house is starting to stop it 110% to get the car, which is a pretty high amount for people. So it is unlikely that that will happen unless the rent goes up.
So,
But we are 110% of the other.
and I would say if something like that happened, we would still, I would believe under the URA, be obligated to house you. We might, in that worst case scenario, have to find you another apartment, but we have legal obligation, hello sir, we have legal obligation during relocation under URA to provide temporary housing.
So if that person has an eviction case against them,
Yes.
then they can come back to JC and say, I need a new apartment because I can't afford this one anymore.
But if the issue is that a landlord, let me go back. If you're saying at the time of a new lease, let's say the relocation is taking, we think estimate about 2 years, right? So the first year, you would, in order to get the Section 8 voucher, you would already know for that whole year what that amount was. I think what Ms. Ramirez is saying, the increase, right, should be well within the 110% in the second year, but for the event that they offered you a new lease and it was too high, we would have to work with you to find a new landlord or to work with but first we would be talking to the landlord about that. I mean, the point of this is that we don't find out about it when after you've been evicted. This is a conversation that happens when you've been offered a new lease, and that increase is above and beyond what the resident can pay for, because under our Section 8 guidelines, you cannot pay more than 40% of your rent. And there are all sorts of complicated guidelines around that. Yes. Yes.
I want to be hard about understanding that only that also has a voucher, a traffic voucher.
Yes, I'm gonna let Patricia and Geraldine talk about all things Section 8 because they're the experts. Yes. Yes.
If you take Section 8, the head house in Section 8, you got kids that are 20 years old, whatever. You make it a split or whatever, and go to public housing, or do they gotta go with the family with Section 8?
Right, this is gonna be done on a case-by-case basis. There may be, I was explaining to, this young woman over here, that in some cases, because it's hard to find a larger apartment in the private market, let's say you're in a 3 or 4 bedroom, and you are a family within a family, we might work with you to house you in 2 separate apartments during the relocation, and there might be the option of the son or daughter going to public or getting their own Section 8 voucher. But when you come back to the property, you are one household, right? Yes.
Gonna have to make it a split, like the adult.
It's going to be on a case-by-case basis. We as an authority do not allow splits. I know in many years before I got here, there were authorized splits. We no longer authorize splits. But for relocation, for convenience, and to help people find housing, we may authorize a split during the relocation period. It's going to depend on different family issues. That's the best I can give you as a general answer today. Yes. We think, relocation is, it's 48 months. What's our time period? Roughly. So I'm looking at development. So the length of time between relocation and return.
So 48 months would be an outside date?
Yes.
I think.
We should try to go into it sooner.
I would go less than 3 years.
We try to give you more, we don't wanna have people be disappointed, right? So,
One for the other landlord, like say, we okay, move out, yeah, get this done.
no, I'm saying 48, I'm thinking in my head more like 24, right? I'm sorry,
Because what I'm
something like
asking-
2 years,
Yes,
yes.
I'm asking, is when y'all give us the vouchers to go there with that, how we're gonna want to bring that lease if everyone's for 2 year lease or 3 years, just about that, how does that look? That's gonna go on our record.
Right, well, no, we will manage it. So the question is, what would happen if returning to the property is breaking the lease? So when we work on relocation with you, we have to be similar, we have to be transparent with you, we have to be transparent with the landlord, right? I mean, we're not kind of like providing you with a Section 8 voucher and then not telling the landlord that you're someone who's relocated and maybe returning, right? I mean, we have the same sort of obligation. When we really want to keep landlords, and that would be from our perspective, it would appear as though we were not sort of acting in good faith with landlords if we were not being clear about your relocated tenant, and that's something we have to look at.
So is it gonna be like a high rise, everybody is gonna be in one complex, one building?
It'll be a mix of market and, it's a mix of market and affordable units, public housing units. There is no segregation of apartments. People will be dispersed throughout. Yes. That's required in a fair house. Yes,
A lot of people here, they used to live in the housing.
I know.
So eventually now, once we move out,
Yeah.
we're dealing with a landlord as opposed to how we did normally deal with. By any chance, if anyone was to lose their Section 8 because they didn't get along with the landlord, or the landlord tells them, listen, I want you to move within these certain months because whatever the situation may be. And if they do lose their Section 8 by any chance, does that affect them still coming here if they no longer have Section 8 because of what happened out there with the landlord?
So we can go back to the policy, but what prohibits people from returning is a violation of the administrative plan. What you're talking about is an action by a landlord. The losing your right to return is about something you did, not something the landlord did to you, right? So I'm gonna ask Patty and Jerry to talk more about that, but the policy and the right to return is that your right to come back is about a violation of the lease or the administrative plan, which is the account for Section 8 that you do, not because the landlord did something to you. Back to this issue, the landlord did something wrong. That does not affect your right to return, right? Go ahead.
So, given the section of discrimination, it can be challenging for tenants to find housing inside. What happens if the tenant can't find housing within the 120 to 90-day period?
We will work with them. So I will tell you that this agency has about 89% success rate when it comes to housing vouchers. We are always looking at ways to incentivize landlords and spend a lot of time cultivating landlords. In fact, Section 8 is our biggest program. We administer well over 4,000 Section 8 vouchers. We have a lot of experience in managing Section 8 vouchers. So, that is work that we're doing in terms of, we'll begin doing in terms of cultivating landlords and identifying landlords who will have apartments that are appropriate for the folks here. And of course, we're going to prioritize 07302 and 07310. I should also say, but that's work, right, to cultivate that, and we have to put effort into that. But there's also the option of going to public housing. There will be some circumstances that a tenant may elect to do public housing. When you get a Section 8 voucher, you also need to meet the income guidelines. You have to be at 50% AMI, and so there may be reasons why if someone is over 50% AMI, that way they would prefer to go to public housing. But I say that is an individual discussion for each family, weighing the pros and cons about what your relocation, what's the appropriate temporary housing during relocation. I'm going to take like 1 or 2 more questions, and then I want to turn it over to Patty. I want to emphasize that this is the first conversation about right of return. I know there's a lot to digest, right? So when we come back, we can dig deeper into some of these issues. You can fill out your comment cards, right? And we are 2 years away. I'm confident that we can talk about all of the sort of questions well before we're talking about relocating, right? So I'm gonna take one or two more questions, yes?
Are there any more, are there any specific guidelines about these repayment agreements beyond what's in the admin right now? It just says payments need to be made over 2 years and just dividing them up. Is there any consideration about affordability, requirements of it, since you need a lump sum upfront, that it's at the housing authority's discretion to waive it? Is there gonna be more guidelines about what these?
We can consider providing more guidelines about that, but I will tell you that we've done repayment agreements for years. There are certain circumstances that we have used to modify, based on income and all of those types of things. But we can look at providing additional guidance around repayment. But first, we really want to get a handle about how many people this actually applies to, right? And if we could get some general sense, and we haven't, I'll be off the for with you. We haven't looked at that yet, right? And there may be, depending on the size, something about, there may be a number of things that we look at. But we'd be happy to visit that and come back with some guidelines, or at least some greater clarity about what that might look like. Okay, and with that, because I know at the last meeting, there were a lot of questions about Section 8. I'm going to turn it over to Patricia Ramirez and Geraldine Jones of our housing voucher program to provide an overview of Section 8. You're not required to say Section 8. One of the options.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Patricia Ramirez. I'm the director of the Section 8 program, and this is Geraldine Jones. She's the assistant director of the Section 8 program.
Change.
So we're just gonna talk briefly about the Section 8 program. The Housing Choice Voucher allows residents to rent a unit in the private market and continue to pay 30% of their income. Housing Choice Voucher Program residents are held to the administrative plan and the lease agreement. Relocated residents have the opportunity to transfer permanently to Section 8 program if they choose not to return to the completed project. For residents who choose to transfer to the Housing Choice Voucher Program permanently, vouchers can be taken outside of Jersey City and outside of New Jersey. All units must be inspected and approved by the JCHA's Housing Choice Voucher Program prior to move-in in order to qualify for a voucher and a URA payment. Okay, so that's a brief description of the Section 8 program. At this point, if anybody has any questions.
Do you want to talk about income eligibility?
About the eligibility process. So, because this is continued eligibility, as the director mentioned before, in order for you to qualify for the Section 8 program, we're not going to look at your income in comparison to the income guidelines. We're going to look at your income to see if you are eligible and would have a portion of the rent. Some residents may not have a portion based on their income, and then therefore would not qualify for Section 8. So in those instances, Section 8 would not be an option. As far as the apartment search, we do assist with apartment search. We have many landlords that currently work with us. They do call the office and provide us with apartment listings. We provide those to voucher holders who are in the process of searching for a unit. It's up to you to go look at the unit and determine if it's a place that you would like to live, and then the housing authority will do an inspection. Once we do the inspection, then we would enter into a housing assistance payment contract. The contract is between the housing authority and the landlord. And that contract would tell the landlord who's going to be living there, family members, what the contract rent is, and how much the housing authority is going to pay on your behalf. The lease is between you and the landlord. And the landlord's responsibility is to enforce all the provisions of the lease. Are there any questions so far?
So we that the cost of living in Jersey City is going up, right? Are y'all vouchers going up?
So, yes, so currently last month we presented a resolution, the fair market rents were posted on the HUD website. Those are not up to us. The Housing and Urban Development Department will post those every year. And then the Housing Authority makes the decision to either go to 90% of the FMR or 110% of the FMR. The Housing Authority, the Jersey City Housing Authority, has adopted 110% of the FMR in order to allow residents to find apartments at a higher cost. Yes, you're right. the cost of apartments in Jersey City has gone up. So we've increased the payment standard to 110%.
For a two-bedroom apartment, how much is your voucher?
So I can't answer that question just in general because it is determined by a rent study. What HUD requires is that when you submit the request for tenancy approval, the owner will tell you how much he's charging for that particular apartment, and the housing authority will do a rent study and determine if that unit passes.
That's the location in different parts of the city.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The study on the different parts of the city.
Yes, yes, it's done by city code, and it's comparing a two-bedroom apartment to a two-bedroom apartment. If it's in a two-family, to a two-family. If it's in a high-rise, in a high-rise.
We actually use a third-party entity that does our rent studies for us. We don't do them in-house. We use an outside company.
I think it was Stacy, you had a question about relocation, but you wanted to know about state, right?
Yes.
Okay, so all vouchers currently are portable, which means that you can take them anywhere within the United States, including Puerto Rico and Hawaii.
So do y'all have, so say, bringing people here, y'all help the landlords down there too?
No, what happens is that, she said she doesn't do something yet. What happens is that when you come in and we issue you the voucher, you're gonna tell the caseworker at the time, where it is that you wanna relocate. So what will happen is we reach out to that housing authority, and we send your documentation over to that housing authority, who will then do your recertifications. We pay them, they pay the land. Because obviously, if you're going to PA, you don't wanna come back every year to do relocation, to do recertification here. So the recertifications are done wherever you live at, and they contact us for the money, we give them the money, they pay them.
So no matter what, y'all said, y'all had the, went out for like different landlords that take section 8.
Yeah, those are only for Jersey City. So if you're going to go out of state, then we send your paperwork to that particular housing authority. And some housing authorities have that same practice, some unfortunately do not. You have to find your own.
They have a listing of apartments, I think Steve has a.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, that if you do port out of the state, you still have the right to come back on relocation. Yes.
Oh, I understand.
That is.
There's a question
Still
about.
have the right to.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, there's just one thing I want to add to that. Let's just say you left, and you decide to come back in 5 years. That apartment that you have 192 public housing units, you would have to wait until there's a vacancy. We're not gonna hold your apartment for 5 years.
No, of course not. You would notify people when it's ready.
You would
Just not let us-
you would be back on the list, and you would get preference, your relocation preference, never ends.
No, what I'm saying, to be here, and we automatically get a letter saying that it's ready to park.
Yes, you will be told when we are open, yes.
Yes, of course.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
Your question about voucher and landlord. Is there more has the right to issue a credit check and a criminal background check?
Unfortunately, the landlords do have the right to do that.
Okay, so there was a question earlier that we want to kind of go over, and the question was, when you return, if you have a lease, okay? So usually during the first year of the lease, you have a 1-year lease. But Steve and the director mentioned that it's gonna take about at least 24 months for the units to be ready.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer. So when you're in your second lease, it's your second year of the lease, the requirement is just that you give the landlord notice that you're moving out, okay? And usually that notice is 30 days. So once you know that your apartment is ready, and that you'll be moving in for, let's say, December 1st, then the expectation is that we will give that landlord notice November 1st that you will be vacating that unit. That's how that process goes, because we do have to let the landlord know, it's courtesy, they have to re-rent that unit, correct? So, yes.
Question. Well, with the income line with Section 8, 30%, still 30% like this housing?
Yes, it's 30% of your adjusted income towards rent minus any utilities that you're responsible for. So we have a utility schedule, and if you're responsible for paying utilities, we will deduct according to that schedule from your 30%. So if 30% is $300, and you're responsible for gas and electric, and I'm making up these numbers by the way, but if the utility schedule shows that $50 is the utility allowance for a one bedroom for gas and electric, we will deduct 50 from the $300 and your portion will be $250. But you are responsible then to pay your gas and electric to public service.
Well, that's why when you come back, with your public service bill. I was doing
Yes.
Section 8, she give out the answer. I just see all that when we come back about building the building, or is it gonna be the same way we want to pay rent?
So I will be honest with you, most new construction is, the resident pays the utility, and in public housing, you have something that Ms. Ramirez just mentioned, a utility allowance. So even here at some of our public housing, sites, like for example in Marion, residents there pay their utilities directly. We have a utility allowance schedule, and we deduct that, like we talked about before for Section 8, for public housing residents. We have not gotten that far, but since most new construction is tenant paid utilities, I think you should assume when you come back, you will be similar to the residents of Marion or Kirby's Woods who pay their own utilities, but it's deducted from the residents' portion payment.
Are there any other questions?
Right here.
If we move with Section 8, right, we find our own house, we gotta pay broken speed, rent, and security, y'all will pay that?
Steve, I guess that's the question.
So yes, but we didn't talk about tonight. We talked about it briefly at the Uniform Relocation Act. If people, because you have options, right? You could decide, I don't want to come back, I want to take my Section 8 voucher. You could just say, I don't want to come back at all, and then there is a payment. And I'll let Liz talk about, because I can't remember the exact, I want to give the number, I think it's around 75.
So if you choose to take your relocation payments and use them towards a down payment on a house, that is allowed up to a certain amount, and that amount is set by federal law, $7,200. So the relocation counselor would work with you if you decided that you were, instead of wanting to return or take a Section 8 voucher, you would like to buy a house, you are entitled to up to $7,200 in down payment assistance. But that, if you do.
You pay broken speed, that's what I'm asking.
So the $7,200 is the maximum we would give you, and that could cover, I don't wanna speak directly about broker's fees, but
No, but it's not even like if you buy a house, she's not gonna pick up all the bills and anything.
We don't do that. No, we don't do that in Section 8.
So after you do y'all pay like with rent or loan, like you said, with security deposit.
No, we don't.
We're just talking about the realtor's fee.
Yeah, the realtor's fee. Do you want to take that for Section 8?
So we don't have funding under the program that covers realtor's fees. Yeah, or security, but the security.
But if we take the Section 8, our security go with y'all?
No, so as I said earlier, we are keeping your public housing security payment, we are holding on to and will transfer to the new unit. If you go to Section 8, the housing authority will loan you the security money. I said that earlier, you don't have to pay a security deposit, you're covered. Yeah. Yes.
Basically saying that if we don't take the Section 8, we don't take the Section 8 on return.
You maybe we can give you this. I'm sorry.
Watch out, it's not long
It's
enough.
about home buy.
If we don't take the Section 8, right, and we decide to say, we just don't want nothing, we want to move, what do y'all give us for just look at that?
Okay, so there are,
Can you restate the question?
yeah, the question is, if you leave the housing authority building once relocation starts, but you don't want to go into the Section 8 program, what are your options and how would the housing authority help you? So there's a couple of answers to that. Sorry. Sorry. I need to move over my. So one of the answers is that under the Uniform Relocation Act, we provide, we would have to provide a stipend to you that covers I'm gonna say this formula and tell me if it makes sense. The difference between the rent you pay now and the new rent you would pay for a period of 42 months, but I'm thinking maybe it's 44 months. So So that means, for example, you pay $300 in rent now. The only unit we can find you that's comparable, because we have to find you a comparable unit, is $500 a month. What we would then pay is the $200 difference for a period of, I think it's 42 months. I apologize. I'll get that number for you. And so there are going to be families who don't want to go on a voucher program, and they're still eligible for those repayments. And furthermore, if you are a family who decides, like it could happen, that you leave public housing and you go to the private market without a Section 8 voucher and you like your unit and you want to stay there, we would give you those payments for that period. And it's up to a certain amount, it's up to $7,200 because that's what the URA allows us. And then at that point, it would stop if you would then pay your full rent.
Okay, like for us, I mean, that's pretty hard because we don't even want to eat. That's for utilities. If we don't pay, if we don't do utilities, it's.
Well, the other thing I'll say is that the Uniform Relocation Act has a section of it that talks about housing of last resort, which sounds terrible, but essentially what it says is that we can't make you move to an incomparable dwelling if the only place you can find that's comparable is above that $7,200 amount. We have to have the funds to pay for that time period. So we cannot, there was a question earlier about what if you have not found a house in the 90-day period or the 120-day period. It is illegal for us to make you move out if you have not found a new place to live that is comparable. We could not do that.
Are there any other questions? Sorry, Section 8? Okay, thank you. So we appreciate that we have talked about a lot of very important things and given you a wide range of policies. I think what I can suggest to you is this. We're almost done, but I want to keep people here. I say this all the time. We are 2 years away from the earliest that we're going to do relocation. We are going to be talking about this as much as you need to talk about this. I say, go talk to each other, talk to your advisors, come back with questions, and we may dedicate, based on feedback that we get from you, we may just dive into what does it mean if I want to leave Jersey City housing entirely and spend some time on that, right? So we have the time to talk about very specific policy issues like that. But as I said, all of this information is available online. Oops, sorry. And this is the point where we talk about what do you do to stay up to date, right? We are going to continue to hold our quarterly meetings. Our next meeting will be in January. So that doesn't mean that you can't communicate with us. You can contact us, the development department. And look, if you don't remember anything, you can just call and say, I'm a resident for Holland Gardens and I have a question, and someone at the front desk can route you to the right person. So don't worry so much about all that stuff. Everything is on the website. And comment cards, you can submit them at the office, or we can grab them from Central. But that is where we are on right to return, and we will circle back and talk with you again in January.